wanted to have a chat today with you about the feeling of the people in the UK and talk about a number of different topics. I think it's a worrying time. People are worried across the spectrum of people. When you think of what's recently happened with our pensioners, our elders, our grandparents, your grandpa, your grandma, those suffering from high energy bills, going into a brand new year, winter time. It's getting cold out there. It's frosty this morning, and there'll be a lot of our loved ones attempting to keep themselves warm. When you think of the people that are in careers at this moment in time, they are trying to make ends meet with rents, mortgages, trying to support their children through schools, education. When you think of young people, I have a son, 17 next week. We had a great conversation about what do you want to do? And when you are sort of 16, 17, 18, 19, young adult, you're trying to figure yourself out. You're trying to figure out what careers you want to go into. And it's difficult. It's difficult to come up with the answers, the outlook right now. What do I do? Where do I go? What industry do I go into? Do I go to further education and university when there are so many people that have gone through university and they've got student debt that they're paying off for potentially the rest of their life, 20, 30 years. Student debt's become like a mortgage. You work hard for 2, 3, 4-year degree and you have all this debt to repay. You think of younger people in schools right now, what they're learning about this once great country. There's so much going on right now, and I think it's important to have a conversation about the outlook of the UK. It is failing its people. I'm certainly worried, but I also want to hopefully share some positivity at the end, because there's a lot of people that are talking at this moment about leaving the UK, that there's no recovery from the UK. But if you stay with me, I'd like to propose a number of things. And certainly this YouTube channel, this is the first YouTube channel video that we're publishing on here. Give a little bit of an introduction. We're going to be talking about current affairs. We're going to be talking about what's happening, because I think it's important to talk. So stick around. Hit the subscribe button if you wanted to. So firstly, my name is Kev. For the last 10 years, have been building my business. We started at home. I was an electrical engineer. I went through university. I've gone through very much what my son is going through right now in terms of trying to find a career. What do I do? Education, apprenticeship, trade, go out, get work. And I've seen from kind of 16 to 25, 26 to now I'm from 26 to now 36. I've seen kind of two sides. Even small businesses, we've got a small business, and I have great friends that are also running small businesses, and a lot of people are fearful. A lot of people are worried. And the sense, the general feeling of the majority of people are of negativity, suffering, worry, anxiety. And that's not good. That's not good. People need to be optimistic. People need to have something to be optimistic about, a greater future. And that's what this channel is going to be all about. Talking about the current, the challenges, and then also discussing the positive and turning this ship around. Because there's nothing worse than feeling like you are helpless. And by talking to one another, talking about different important topics, and then more importantly, getting out there and attempting to make a difference, a positive change, to change this feeling around on what we can control, I think that's going to be important. So, I just took a couple of notes, loads of different bullet points. Let's talk first of all from our pensioners and our elders. I have my mother-in-law who is in her 70s now. She's worked all her life. Paid taxes all her life, and she's got a home. We lost, unfortunately, my wife's father in 2013, so she lives by herself now, and that's concerning from pensioners and winter fuel allowance, and essentially making sure that energy bills are paid. The energy bills appear to have skyrocketed when all we've been told over the last number of years, all I can remember, is net zero, right? We have to invest in going green and net zero, and that will make our energy bills come down, because we've now got roof panels and we've got wind farms. But that's not actually becoming to reality. When we started renting about 16 years ago, and I'll talk about mortgages as well, because we do now have a mortgage, energy bills were less than 50% of what we're paying now. It's gone up a lot, and I don't truly understand where this continuing push of renewable energy, which I believe in from an engineer background, I believe that we have to work efficiently. We don't want to be wasteful. I totally believe in turning lights off. Like, I ain't got lights on in here right now. In the office behind, we only have one set of lights on because we try to do our bit with energy bills and energy costs and not being wasteful. And you'd think that would make a difference, but it's not. Why is it not making a difference? So that is a concern. It's a concern. Over the Christmas period, I had an earache. It started on Christmas Eve. I woke up and I just felt like I had earache. So I was like, I'm not sure why I've got earache. I've never really suffered from earache before, and didn't think anything of it. Took some paracetamol, and then the next day, on Christmas Day, started feeling a bit tender around my ear. Once again, I was like, I'm not entirely sure what's happening. I don't believe I've done anything that could have made my ears start to hurt like this. And then the next day, it woke me up. It woke me up, struggled to sleep. And my wife was like, you need to call the doctors. I called the doctors and the appointments had already gone. Was unable to get an appointment. I walked into Morrison's and I wanted to go to the pharmacy and say, look, I've got earache, and I tried to explain to the person behind the counter, this is what I'm suffering from, and he's pointing me to the doctor. He gave me some eardrops, just like over the counter kind of eardrops. Made no difference. Tried to call the doctor again. I could not get through, having paracetamol. And in the end, I was not able to go into a doctor. In the end, I went to another pharmacy, pharmacist who was very nice and pleasant, and he says, try this, because he proposed I tried one eardrop and that didn't do anything. So he was like, okay, try this one. And it was like this olive oil eardrop. Tried that, and over the last couple of days, it's actually felt a little bit better. So I'm very grateful for that. But the point is, and the point I was trying to make is, there are so many people that are attempting to get into GPs, attempting to get into doctors, and they're struggling to get in. There's only limited appointments. If you don't call by, on the dot, 8 a.m, it's engaged straight away, because the people are suffering. People need to go see doctors. Maybe children are unwell. Maybe themselves not feeling too well. And that's worrying. Worrying that you're trying to call for help and you're not getting through. You're unable to get appointments. You're unable to get the support that you need. And over the last 10 years, 20 years, all you kind of hear is every kind of government that come in and like, I'm going to invest more into the NHS, I'm going to do this, more doctors or more police or more whatever the case might be in the kind of the public sector. And the experience, the results are not up to standard. We all pay national insurance, we all pay taxes, which is another topic completely. And that's not up to standard. So that's worrying. That needs a rethink. What is the answer there? Because doing the same thing over and over is just not getting the results. There appears to not be filtering into the front line. It appears there's too much, the behind the scenes, too much administration, too much political movements. If a house is on fire, you need the fire engine to get there to put the fire out as quickly as possible. When it comes to health, whether it's mental health, whether it is physical health and an emergency, sometimes you can't see the fire per se, but I don't say it's not there. And it's like the fire people are not turning up, but it's in the NHS. So that's a concern, and it needs a complete rethink. It needs a complete reform. It needs our voices, like what's not working. And I think right now there's a huge voice of people, the deeply dissatisfied, the deeply upset, they're deeply worried. They're deeply, in some cases, become angry because we are expected, a lot of us, the amount of taxes, and that's the next thing on the list, the amount of taxes that are paid, it's very difficult to see what is happening. Feels like a black hole. Feels like every month you go from one month to another month and all you're trying to do is make ends meet. Now, for me, I come from I've had different perspectives. So my first 8-9 years, I was going through an apprenticeship with what is now called British Steel. The company at the time, before it became British Steel, was suffering a lot from expectations, from energy, from taxes, no support. If you think of the industries are being shut down. Manufacturing is being shut down in the UK. We're having to go abroad. It's so difficult. I was in meetings where struggling to compete to secure a contract within this country from a steelmaker within this country, was not able to compete on price with a foreign company that's halfway around the world, on the other side of the world. They were able to present better pricing and secure contracts when it's just on the doorstep here in the UK, due to the amount of pressures, of requirements, of taxes, etc. The high street is a really, really difficult place. We are just on the outskirts of the high street. We're near the high street, but we're like on an off-road. And the business rates, the shops are shutting down, closing down sales. People are not able to compete. People are now shifting online, right? We have e-commerce businesses and we're e-commerce fulfillment, and everything's online. People are not coming out their homes to go into a high street at this point. And the councils or the amount of rates that are involved is making it very, very difficult to give an environment for any young startup business or a startup in general to go into a high street shop to try selling stationery or cards or clothing, or it's very, very difficult. The barrier to entry has just become so high. It's very, very difficult. So we've got a dying high street. We've got so many challenges. Just in our town here, there is the life, the energy of the high street is you can see it, you can feel it. And that's how people are waking up every day. You know, it's difficult to get out of when there's so much going against you. It's difficult. So how do you overcome that? Young people and mental health. You know, young people are feeling confused. There's so much talk of mental health. Mental health, people suffering. Everywhere you turn, you've got posters, mental health, go speak to somebody. If you're worried, go speak to somebody. And it seems to be like a vicious cycle of mental health, speak to somebody, and then people find it difficult to speak to somebody, and then, you know, the next thing that has to be done is once you start to become aware, you know, self-conscious, and not, even if you have a bad day, you know, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Even if you're having challenges, it doesn't mean that you've got some type of disease, you know, a mental disease. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It means that you're a human being. It means that we have to go through the discovery. There's some serious, and I'm not a doctor, right? I'm just giving you some observation. But if young people are being fed to talk, if you're feeling the emotions I try to think of, and maybe you can try this yourself, I try to see emotions as clouds in the sky. The clouds come and go. as a rain cloud comes in, you might start to feel anxious, worried. You might start to feel a sense of sadness, or you might start to feel like, what do I do? I'm confused. And emotions can come, and you can feel it emotionally. You can feel it in your chest. You can feel it, but then they do pass. And a lot of the times they do come and then they pass. And sometimes, for me, I've found just to observe. Okay, what am I feeling? And then let it pass. Because many times they do pass. But it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you, right? It doesn't mean that if a cloud comes in, if you keep fixated on that, it don't pass. It just stays. And that's one of the skills, or one of the actions that young people they look to speak to somebody. How can I overcome this? Why is this happening? And when they are not able to speak to somebody, they are stuck trying to figure this out in their bedrooms, in their homes. And like, what actions can you make? Small steps. Can you go for a walk in the morning? Can you go for a walk in the evening? Can you, if you're on your phone or technology now, if you're just on socials, and there's so much, whether it's TikToks, whether it is Instagram Reels, whether it is YouTube Reels, there's so much short form. And then once you see a particular topic, it kind of just keeps you in this web of topic. And then all of a sudden it's feeding you this, and it's feeding you this. And it's not stimulating the body, it's just kind of you're laid in bed or laid on the sofa, and you're just in this web of negative. It kind of feeds you this. And then you've got to have that awareness to try getting out of it as well. So that's what people are suffering with. And it needs more awareness to, whether it's a detox, whether it is, try putting your phone down for 30 minutes, go see go into nature, go have a walk around your local park, or go change your environment. People need to do this, but it's also then difficult, because then you're in this like kind of rat race of like, you've got to work, and then to pay the bills, and there's so much, and it's so pressuresome, where it's difficult then to go out and go for walks when there's so much on your mind. So there's that you've got to deal with. Labour came in to the government. They had a majority. The majority was based on a political system, first past the post, which meant that we've got a very unique situation here, where Labour have got a third of the votes with 2/3 of Parliament. What that basically means is you've got 2/3 of people that did not vote for Labour. You've actually got, I think the statistics showed, you've got 50% of people that just did not even vote, that did not even show up, because of their just complete lack of trust, their complete lack of their, like, even if I vote, what difference is it going to make? That's broken. Britain is broken because you've got half of the people that didn't vote because for whatever reason they didn't even feel like it would make a difference. You've now got a scenario where you've got a third of people that voted, but they've now got 2/3 of a majority. You've now got a selection of people that voted away from Conservatives based on the fact that Conservatives, it felt like over the last 14 years they were failing. So therefore those people just weren't going to vote Conservatives. They wanted change. And because Labour just said change, people want to be optimistic, and they see change as a positive, and it's turned into change as a negative. Raises in taxes, 40 billion in the first budget. Elimination of winter fuel allowance, taxes on farmers' inheritance, increase on employers. Employers are now looking at what can they do. It's costing more all the time to hire. And now you've got them people that are not in work, and there's a lot of jobs that are now not available because of the raises in taxes. So therefore, businesses are now not hiring. Businesses are now potentially even not providing opportunities, or even letting go of people because of the increases. And you've just got, across every single political, every single societal, you've got so many things that are happening, and that's why you've now got lots of people now leaving the UK. And of course, you've got so many people coming into the UK. We see photos of the boats. We see photos of illegal, what appear to be legal migrants. And people can't understand, why is this happening? And then the government are putting people into hotels costing, I think it's 8 million a day or something. And then at the same time, on the wider spectrum, you've got people that we're hearing of. Obviously, we've had these issues of Russia, Ukraine, Middle East. You've got so many conflicts that are appearing around the world. And then the UK it's been reported that sending billions of pounds abroad. Billions of pounds abroad. When you've got real people in the UK, you've got people homeless on high streets. You've got pensioners cold on streets, in their homes. You've got young people that are confused, not knowing where to go. You've got students riddled with debt. You've got an NHS that's not working correctly. You've got businesses that are struggling to pay taxes and the council taxes, and workers, careers that you want to work and be paid well, but when you get paid a certain amount, they're going to take that 30%, 40%. A high earner, you're going to lose 50%. Mortgages, first-time buyers are next to impossible to get deposits together. How can you save? You're saving for years upon years upon years, and some people never even make it. A lot of people are becoming first-time buyers because they've had to have gifts from whether it's relatives. When generations before, it was relative and it was achievable. You was able to save a bit of money and then buy your first home to have a family. Now people are, the birth rates are dropping. Because why? How can people afford to have children? People are staying at homes now longer. They're in their 20s and they're still staying at home. How can you make it work? There's so much that is happening, and Labour have failed to make this happen. Conservatives, this two political system, when it's been like a ping pong from one side to another, every few years, whether it's 10 years, 15 years, we swing from one side to another, and it's been broken. It's not working. People aren't getting change. It's getting worse. And I can't help but think and feel optimistic now about the Reform Party. The Reform Party that have family, community and country as its values. To think about your own people first. To think about your own citizens first. I guess the saying goes like charity starts at home, right? I think deep down, everybody on a human level, we all want to look out for each other. We are traditionally, right? It's family orientated. It is looking after your parents and having great times with your loved ones and your, your cousins and your brothers, your sisters, and then you get together in a community, neighborhood watches, and let's clean like everyone looks after their own gardens, and you're doing your grass and you're saying hello to your neighbor who's also doing the grass, and you're decorating for Christmas together, and you're having a good time, having like a local gathering, and celebrating traditional values, whether it was the coronation of the king, or mourning the great late queen, and being proud of the heritage, being proud of your country, being proud to say that our history, we've got such a wide and so many historical moments of times, of great people, of inventions, and we stand on the shoulders of giants that have come before us, and inspirational people, whatever side of the coin that you're on, whether it was 100 years ago in war times when you had the political leaders, Winston Churchill, right, wartime prime minister, who would make an address and saying, this is for the people, and we will look after the people. And we're now in foreign war times, and political leaders are saying we're looking after the foreign people. And we believe in helping and supporting, but when there's so much going on, it's difficult. It's difficult. It's truly difficult. But Reform are changing that. Reform are a voice, as it appears now, of family, community, and country. Values of family. Being happy. Looking after one another. Being supportive of our children. Husbands, wives. Wherever you are right now. Being proud of the home. Looking after one another. Being proud to be British. Being proud to be here in the UK. Being proud to be, whether in England, whether in Scotland, whether in Wales, whether in Ireland. Being proud of where we are. They have those values. Community, looking after your neighbour. Doing your bit. Pulling out the bin. I try to do this, for example. I'm not sure whether you do, but I'm sure that you do. You pull out your bin, and if I see my neighbours, I'm just going to pull the bin out as well. When you pull the bin back in, I see my neighbours, I'm going to pull them both in. I don't see it as like in any way of like I have to do it. I don't see it as like I'm not doing it because you're not doing it, because I know my neighbour will do that too. That's the kind of thing. That's what we need to get back to. That's what's necessary. And you need to build a society that people feel optimistic again. Knowing that their hard work will be rewarded and not siphoned away from them. We've got to encourage young entrepreneurs. We've got to encourage, I'm from a business, right? That's why this channel's called Systemized News. I talk about business. I talk about solving people's problems. There's so many problems. I talk about helping and creating services and products. And I talk about energy, and I talk about massive action, and I talk about all these things because I am so grateful for this country. I'm so grateful for what the UK has provided me, my wife, my 2 children. And the time of our need, when we lost our 3rd child, Bonnie, the NHS was there for us. And there were so many charities that supported us. And we want to give back. We want to help and give back. And that's why building our business, that's why creating this channel. And I've created different topics before, and I've spoken about different things before on our main channel, which you'll be able to see down below. Please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you want to. I do intend on publishing more on a weekly basis and covering different topics and working our way to the revival and the reform. I believe in family, community, country. I will do my absolute best to support what Reform are doing at this moment in time. I will do my absolute best to keep our team and our employment and looking for a positive, optimistic future. I'll continue to do my best, and on a weekly basis, maybe more often, I will try to share more and more. But it is difficult. It's difficult. And you have to try to harness the energy. There's so much coming at you. So much coming at you. If you're thinking about leaving the UK, a lot of people are. I can see why. I can certainly see why. But this is an invitation to stay. I know a lot of people are saying to leave. But I think this can be turned around. I think we're starting to see it turn around. Especially from a Reform, that's what I'm saying. We're not seeing it as in reality at this moment in time, but with what's happening with Donald Trump and America First, USA, Elon Musk, Department of Government Efficiencies, I believe that wave will come. And I think that's what Reform is. So my intention, I just put a date there. By the time we get to the next election, I would like to use this channel. I'd like to use my voice. I'd like to invite guests on. I'd like to talk about things. I'd like to get on the streets. I want to make people aware of what's happening. I want to talk about everyday news and current affairs, and because I truly believe that nothing lasts forever. Spring always follows winter. There's a great book called The Fourth Turning. I hope and I believe that we're at the back end of the fourth turning. Fourth turning is a crisis, and we're at the crisis point. And I believe that the election of Donald Trump is the start of going back to the first turning. And the first turning is going back to a high. Just like when you get to the bottom of a roller coaster, this is the bottom of the roller coaster. We've got to turn. We've got to turn this around. We've got to get back to the basics of optimism, of a greater future. But it's going to take hard work. It's going to take hard work. First of all, we've got to acknowledge and talk about what's happening. That's why, the title of this video is like, the UK is failing its people. Yes, I'm worried for 2025. But together we have to make it out, and then I'm optimistic of the future. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the subscribe button. We've got to get out there. We've got to talk. We've got to make it happen. And this has been the first video. Thank you very much for your time. Comment down below what your thoughts are. I encourage you with this. Take a moment to share what your thoughts are in the UK and, what you're not happy with right now. 100%. Please do share. But I invite you to leave that comment with something optimistic of the future. Something hopeful, something that you can potentially focus on a little bit more. I'm focused on attempting to get through these changes. I'm focused on attempting to solve problems. I'm focused on trying to be there for those in need. I'm focused on talking about this and making people aware for an optimistic future. Thank you for watching.